everybody, it is Blonde Blitz time. Let's go.
He's had, but I still like the Commanders.
I'm also tough.
DeMar Chase. I'm looking at that Cincinnati team against the Cleveland Browns.
Well, as soon as I saw the rain last night, I was wondering if that might be a little bit of a factor as well.
How we play that week is really going to be more impactful.
With the Raiders, who got Jacoby Myers back.
The same thing with Joe Burrow. You just expect Joe Burrow to do it because he's been to a Super Bowl.
It's time to send in the Blitz with Deb Whitcas and the Blonde Blitz.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Blonde Blitz. I'm your host, Deb Whitcas. Happy Divisional weekend, everyone. We are down to 8 teams in the NFL. We've got a great show for you today. My special guest is a former NFL safety for the Dallas Cowboys, Tony Dixon. He's here to help me with hot takes, and we'll hear all about his football career and his current endeavors as well. Just a heads up, he's got a new book, Beyond the Glass, A Life of Purpose and Impact, and I cannot wait to talk all about it. Also on today's show, we have sports comedian Todd Marshall-Durham. He joins us for Playoff Funny. We've got HGTV designer to the athlete, Shay Holland. She is back here to tell you how to get your house playoff ready, and she's going to give you a few tips on fans that are heading to Santa Clara for Super Bowl 60. So we're excited to hear that too. As always, sports betting expert Alex White is here for your best bet going into the divisional weekend, along with fantasy expert Ballers Meg. Intuitive Reader 333 Ask Harry looks at her power deck for the Patriots versus Texans playoff game. And finally, as usual, Ben Troop, former tight end for the Bucs and the Titans. He is here for all the divisional games. We're going to do them all. All right, guys, let's get it all started with headlines.
Now to Deb Whitcas with the Blonde Blitz headlines.
Wild Card Weekend brought January football at its best, with dominant defenses, clutch quarterbacks, and seasons decided in the final moments. Houston set the tone by crushing Pittsburgh 36, holding the Steelers to just 175 total yards and 0 touchdowns. A 33-yard fumble return by Sheldon Rankins cracked the game open, and the Texans walked out with its first road playoff win in franchise history. Saturday delivered drama. Josh Allen powered Buffalo to a 27-24 win in Jacksonville, throwing for 273 yards, rushing for 2 touchdowns, and snapping the Bills' 33-year road playoff drought when the defense intercepted a throw by Trevor Lawrence in the final drive. Earlier, Matthew Stafford of the Rams led a late 71-yard march and threw the game-winning touchdown to tight end Colby Parkinson with 38 seconds left as the Rams survived Carolina 34-31. Sunday finished strong. The 49ers eliminated the defending Super Bowl champions, the Philadelphia Eagles, 23-19. What a heartbreaking game with a trick play touchdown. It was a late go-ahead score from Brock Purdy. And the defense held Philly to 36 yards in the third quarter. Such a shame. New England leaned on the defense as well, sacking Justin Herbert 6 times in a 16-3 win over the Chargers for its first playoff victory since 2018. And in Chicago, Caleb Williams authored the moment of the weekend, throwing for 361 yards and rallying the Bears from 18 down to beat Green Bay 31-27, sealing the franchise's first playoff win in 15 years. All right, guys, those are your headlines for Wild Card Weekend. Wild they were. On to divisionals next week. All right, guys, as I said in my intro, my special guest this week is a husband, father, brother, friend, speaker, faith-led philanthropist. He is also a former safety for the Dallas Cowboys and an author of the new book, Beyond the Glass, A Life of Purpose and Impact. He's here to help me out with hot takes from our Wild Card Weekend, and we'll also chat about his football career and his current passions. Everybody, please help me welcome Tony Dixon.
Next caller is Deb Whitcas, who says she has some really hot takes.
Hey, Tony, how are you?
Deb, how you doing?
I'm doing so well. Let's get in on this wild card weekend. How wild was it?
I mean, it lived up to its name. It was wild. But for the football fan, you had to love it. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, other than two games, everything was close.
I mean, I was holding my breath literally. I'm a beat reporter for the Rams, so I was literally holding my breath watching the TV, wishing I was in Carolina, but I wasn't. But yeah, every game was just right down to the wire. I can't remember a wild card weekend that came down, that was this crazy, in a long time. Let's start out with the Rams versus Panthers. Like I said, Rams.
Yeah.
There's 34-31, came down to that Colby Parkinson touchdown. How do you think the Rams looked?
I think it looked like a wild card weekend Rams. It was kind of what I expected. I mean, going into this game, we pretty much knew they were going to win it. The question was how, but
almost did, though.
But
scary thing,
I was
right?
like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
what is
are the
going
Panthers
on
going to pull this one out? I was really scared for a moment there.
Yeah, no, I was worried as well. But in true fashion, they ended it well. I mean, come on. That's like one of those lifetime games where people look back in your career and say, oh my God, it's not like he's a rookie quarterback anymore either.
Of course. No, he's 14 years in the league.
14 years in the league. But people forget it because we still have the likes of Aaron Rodgers, we'll talk about later, still in the league. But this is still a 14-year quarterback that led his team on a game-winning drive.
Who had a back injury, and Jimmy Garoppolo took over him for the entire training camp. And
what? That's nothing. Back injury is nothing. It's just, no, that's serious. That is serious for a quarterback to have a back injury.
Yeah, it's very much so. And you could even see, and I remember I was there for the Saints kind of joint practice, and you could see McVay was really starting to get nervous. And the Rams didn't play great in that joint practice. And you can kind of see it in his face. He was trying not to show it, but he was, because that's McVay. We all know it. And yeah, it turns out Stafford's having a fantastic season, and he is up for MVP. Your thoughts for him for that? Is it going to be him? Is it going to be Drake May, Josh Allen? What are we thinking?
I mean, based on that game, he made a stamp. He made a name for himself. It's one of those that if you could play the game out in your favor, he did that, right? Mm-hmm. He did that. So it was awesome to see. I've been a fan of his playing for a while. You've seen his progression over the years. Yes. You can tell this year he's comfortable. And I know it's great for him this year, for that team, for him to be here as healthy as he is. Hopefully he can sustain through the playoffs. That's my only concern right now is, will that injury hold up? Because that is a serious injury for a quarterback.
And also to his finger, he hurt his hand during the game as well. He hit the helmet. He hit
the helmet
player. And
we've seen a lot more of that this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. And it's not fractured. So hopefully, and I actually will be there at the Rams tomorrow. So I will be asking the questions.
Yeah.
What's going on with the fingers here, or with the finger? Okay. Let's go with Bears versus Packers. The Bears 31-27. It could have went either way with this game. Chicago's defense, they had key stops, they had pressures.
Yes.
But there were moments where it looked like the game might tilt. It didn't.
Listen.
Yeah. Go ahead.
This is a game that almost made me start drinking again. I've been 5 years without a drink of alcohol, but this was one I was
awesome.
like, what is going on? This was an amazing game. I think going into this, I had the Packers. I'll just be honest. I thought it was going to be the Packers winning this game. I had high hopes for the Bears, but I was like, I don't know if they're going to be able to pull it out.
I had the Bears just because of Micah Parsons. Because Micah Parsons isn't playing, I thought the Chicago was on a streak and would continue. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, I love that perspective too. But man, what turned out to be, honestly, that was my favorite game of the weekend.
Okay.
Watching that game, it was my favorite game of the weekend because it was nonstop. It's one of those, don't turn your channel away. You don't know what's going to happen. And I think the marquee point in that was when Caleb rolled out to the left and threw that pass on what I think was fourth down in the air. Straight arm strength threw that down the field. That's going to be one of those plays that we see over and over again in his career. A lot of people at that point were saying, hey, he's the quarterback of the future. It's funny because last year he was a quarterback that we wasted a pick on. So
Absolutely. And it changes so fast in the NFL, as you know.
Right.
I liked Caleb. I liked everything about it. I liked him in college. And I was upset that the Bears, he seemed to be wasted kind of on the Bears, and they just weren't clicking. And now they are. And now they're in the divisionals. And it's been several years since they've been in the divisionals. So, he's getting his flowers now. And I love that.
Yeah. Let's see what happens next.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, talking about next, the Bills versus the Jags. Bills beat the Jags 27-24. Do you think the Bills have what it takes to go all the way? I'm going to be honest. Every year I pick the Bills to go in the Super Bowl. Every year they disappoint me. I didn't do it this year, and watch, they're going to make it this year. But this is also the first year that Kansas City is not in the playoffs. So is this the Bills' year? Everybody is saying it is. What are your thoughts?
You know what? I think because Kansas City is not in the playoffs, it put more pressure on the Bills because, the psyche of a player sometimes is like you're playing to get past this one team. You look at them as this is the team that's in our way. If we beat them, we're going to win the Super Bowl. They're not there this year. So the pressure of beating that team is gone. I will tell you, if we based it on what we saw this past week, it makes you wonder. Is this the team that can win the Super Bowl? Question, I'll be honest, Deb, I don't know.
I agree with you.
The jury is out. I don't know. I'm like,
they're playing the Broncos this week, and
show me.
Bo Nix has been great. That's going to be a showdown this next week. I have the Broncos to be. I have the Broncos to be in the Super Bowl.
Oh,
I'm going to be honest.
Oh,
yep.
Oh, I like that prediction. That's not too far off. I like that.
Yeah, we'll see. What about I'll ask you. I'll ask yours at the end of this. 49ers versus the Eagles. Huge Eagles fan, I have to be honest. I bleed green. I'm from Philly. 23-19. Awful game. Yeah. And the 49ers, though, they're so resilient, and they've had so many injuries. They've come back from it. They're in the divisionals. We thought they were out. What are your thoughts on the 49ers?
I think their battery life is going to run out pretty soon. It's only so far you can go without having your key players. Yeah. But what I love about it is you saw the fight, you saw the heart, you saw the teammanship, you saw the great coaching that happened in that. But what we saw more than anything was a huge disappointment for the Eagles. Yeah. It is no way that they should have lost this game. Even seeing the early year drama to now seeing what it's become in this is just disappointing. I'm one of those people that when a person wins the Super Bowl, I at least want them to get to the divisional round, divisional championship, just for the chance of going back to the Super Bowl. So to see them be out in wild card week, it's truly disappointing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think went wrong?
Say again?
What do you think went wrong?
It starts in the locker room. It starts in the locker room. And some of the hardest things to do for any team, NFL, college, high school, peewee, it doesn't matter, is to come back after a championship win. Mm-hmm. Because everything that you built up, all the goals that you had to get to the Super Bowl and win it, once you win it, the question then is what next? And this year I saw a team divided. There were too many stories that were seeping out the locker room. Yeah. There were too many attitudes that you saw on the sideline. And then, honestly, not to throw to your top receiver for the most important play of the game, I think is very telling as well. So it starts. Coaches can coach as much as they want to, but the players have ownership as well. In this case, I think it was on the players.
Well, and which is funny because I actually disagree. I think it was on Kevin Patullo, but we'll see. I also think Nick Sirianni's a little bit to blame as well. I think that he should not have sat the starters in week 18.
Oh, absolutely. All that's true. Both can be true.
Yeah, second seed instead of the third. They would have played Green Bay. I think they had a better shot to beat Green Bay than they did San Francisco. But you can't change the past. We can only move forward. Patullo was just fired. And you mentioned, the top wide receiver, AJ Brown. They did target him a few times. He didn't play great in that last game. He dropped 3 or 4 passes, not like him at all. No. But do you think, with all of the drama that you just discussed, do you think he'll still be an Eagle next season?
It's going to be very interesting. You know, teams have now gotten to the point that if your distraction is bigger to the team, sometimes they take the high road and say, you know what, we're going to cut our losses because we want to have synergy in the locker room versus this distraction off the field. So it's going to be interesting to see how because it's going to come down to the ownership. It's going to be very interesting to see how the ownership sees this in the grand scheme of things for the future of the Eagles.
I'll be very upset to see him go. He's one of my favorite wide receivers. Him and Puka Nacua. I have his jersey, so we'll see. It's funny because he's actually a man of few words. The times I've interviewed him, he doesn't speak much, but just all the drama was there this season, and it just didn't work out for the Eagles. But next season, finally moving on to the Texans Steelers game. C.J. Stroud fumbled 3 times, but they still won the game. Mike Tomlin is stepping down after 19 straight winning seasons.
Yeah.
Where do you think he will end up? I'm upset. I'm upset.
Yeah, this one hurts me as well, but I think the pressure forced him to step down just from the fans, from his former players. A lot of people are very vocal that he wasn't coaching the same way. He didn't have the same stronghold on the locker room. And when you hear that from people that you're close to, people that you went to battle with, I can see a person walking away saying, I've given you 19 years of winning season. And yeah, maybe we didn't win as many Super Bowls as we could have, but name a coach that's done it. Name another coach that's done it. And to me, that's the sad part of this is like, the players still play for him. Why do we know that? Because early in the season, you want to fire him.
Right.
And they still got a winning season and they still made it to the playoffs.
Yep.
Right. So this one does hurt for sure. The idea that Steelers have only had 3 coaches since before you and I both were born, that's kind of crazy.
Way before.
Right.
The beginning of the Steelers. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So this one hurt. But I'll tell you what I did enjoy in this deal. I'm a safety.
Yes.
So I love that Texans defense.
Okay.
Ooh, I enjoyed every bit of it.
All right. Well, to that point, what's your Super Bowl prediction then?
I think it's the year of the Rams.
So I'm sorry, the Rams and who?
I think it's the year of the Rams. I think the Rams are going to win it all.
Okay.
Yep.
I agree with you. I actually said it in OTAs when I first saw Stafford.
Oh, wait, you said in OTAs?
Oh, yeah. I literally did. I was like, Rams are making a Super Bowl run this year.
Well, so, I wouldn't have said that. I wasn't that good, but
I was there though. Who else do you think will be from the AFC?
Yeah, I'm torn between the Bills and the Patriots.
Okay.
The Patriots, I will tell you, just continue to surprise me. The poise of the quarterback. I already knew the coach. I mean, I know he's going to get the team going, but they continue to surprise me. But, why not have the drama of Rams and Bills?
That would be fun.
Why not?
Yeah, that actually would be fun. I would love the Broncos just because I have friends who do media for the Broncos and I'd love to see them. But yeah, the Bills Rams would be fun. I think the Bills fans and the Rams fans, that energy is hard to beat.
It feels right. And when you think about, a lot of things that drive the news of NFL, it's the quarterbacks. So when you think about those 2 quarterbacks, even that feels right in terms of building a narrative. So it'll be great to see the Bills that we know, all we know them as Super Bowl losers. So to have them get back, to not have Kansas City there, all these other variables, have the MVP, likely MVP on the other side. This feels like the right story to be in the Super Bowl.
Yep. I think that would be a great Super Bowl narrative. Absolutely. And they always say the logo matches. There's some yellow, there's some blue, and there's pink.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. I always look at that, the first thing. But real quick, you played for Dallas for several seasons. What does Dallas need to do next season to get into the playoffs?
You know what?
I had to ask you this question.
Well, I just spoke about how I love defense, and our opportunity this year is defense. I think we made the right moves in getting the D line taken care of, but we still need linebacker play and we need some solid defensive backs. I think the safeties played pretty well this year, but the cornerbacks really hurt us on the edge. And I think the other piece, and I always go back to the comment that Jerry himself said. He basically said we can scheme pressure. You remember he made that statement?
No.
When Michael Parsons was let go, he made a statement that basically said we can scheme pressure, trying to make it sound like we can live without Michael Parsons. But I tell you what,
could they though?
Anybody that questions that, just go back and watch the Texans and how those defensive ends were attacking. And I think that shows you the value of having that pressure, relentless pressure on a quarterback. So we have to have that. We have to have some solid linebackers, and we need at least one lockdown corner, and we'll be good.
Okay. All right. Well, we will see next season. Let's talk a little bit more about your career in general. I'm excited to talk with you about it. I ask the same question every single guest to start off my interviews. Why football? Why do you love it?
Oh, man. Football, I think, is one of those sports that I don't know of anybody that truly goes out thinking that they're going to be that great when they first go out. You go out with a lot of uncertainty. And it's one of those first sports where, if you do like I did, start in Little League, you're having to question your physicality. Like, can I even show up every day? Can I take these hits? Can I get hit? My story was I was scared to hit and get hit when I started playing football.
And you were running back too.
Like,
you were hitting and getting hit at the same time.
Listen, I was scared. I was afraid of both. So for what football did for me is the accountability of friends, and obviously it showed me the relentless pursuit, the persistence, the attitude that I had to show up every day, knowing that I was probably going to get my head knocked off by all the older players, but I still put my pads on. I still got out on the field, and I still went out to practice, and eventually ended up becoming a player great enough to get drafted in the second round. So I think it's stories like that that when you go back and you think about the lifespan of people and things they've been through, I think that's why it's so inspirational for people, because you never know why a person get involved. For me, it was to fit in. Okay. I got involved in sports to fit in because I didn't feel like I was fitting in with the people, the friends, the cool people around me. So I was like, hey, I want to wear that jersey on Friday.
Yeah.
So I went out for Little League to wear the jersey on Friday.
That's awesome. And wear the jersey you did. You went to high school in Pickens County. That's right. You were a two-way football player. So like I said, you played running back and defensive back. I have some stats, but real quick, I know we're going all the way back to high school now.
Yeah.
Why running back and defensive back? Like,
listen,
that's a combination.
Small school. You couldn't come off the field. Like, literally, and what's not written there, Deb, is I was also the holder on field goal. I was the up back on punt. I was the safety on kickoff, and I was the punt and kickoff returner. I literally did not come off the field.
Wow, you literally played almost every position except for quarterback. Okay.
Here's why. I was at a two-way school. I'm from my hometown is less than 1,000 people, right? And the football team that was dressed, we would have anywhere from 22 to 30 players.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Well, and then, so these stats make sense then. He did, on your junior year, 1,286 rushing yards, 17 touchdowns, 115 tackles, and 6 interceptions. Senior year, 1,450 rushing yards, 21 touchdowns total, 6 sacks, 4 interceptions, and 2 fumble recoveries. And to that point, I just have to say, yes, you went to Bama.
Yes.
Tell me about being you had a scholarship to Alabama, right, to play.
This was amazing. Like, because growing up, I was in the back, really in the background of Alabama. I was 40 miles away. And I will tell you, the first school to send me a letter for an offer at that time was Troy State, which is now Troy University. So honestly, Deb, at that point, Alabama was not on my radar at all.
Wow.
And I ended up going to football camp, going into my junior season. And that's when I went to Alabama and Auburn camp. And in both cases, the coaches showed interest and was like, hey, you're pretty good, right? And I didn't believe it at first, but I went back and I had the confidence that I was a better player than what I thought I was. And that's what led to those junior year stats. And then eventually I was recruited across the nation. I was one of the top players in the state of Alabama. The Notre Dames of the world. I was recruited by everybody but the Florida schools. I still have a problem with that. I don't know why the Florida schools. The Florida schools literally told me, "We know you're not leaving Alabama."
Oh.
And they didn't even waste their time. It was like we didn't even waast our time recruiting.
It makes sense though, right?
Exactly. But I was recruited more for offense than defense. And due to an old coach named Bill Oliver, who was a legend in the sport, legend in defensive backs, he was the one that first said, "Hey, have you considered defensive backs?" He was like, "Listen, running backs are a dime a dozen. And it's time bound. Wide receivers, we can find them anywhere, but a good defensive back is hard to find." And at that time, I'm 6'1" because I grew an inch in college. So I was 6'1", about 180 pounds or so. And at that time, he was like, "You're probably going to play at the 200-pound range." So my playing weight in college was 205, and in pros was 220.
Okay. Well, talking about the pros, you said earlier you were drafted. Dallas took you in the 2001 NFL drafts. You were selected number 56. Take me to that moment. I always love to hear it.
Listen, first of all, I was projected to go day 2. So I watched the early drafts and early rounds and saw the first picks down to the 10th, 12th, because I saw these guys at the combine and at the Senior Bowl. So it was great to see that. And Deb, at that point, I literally turned the TV off.
Shut up.
Listen, so my story is that this is how dated this is. And hopefully the young kid is going to be like, "What is he talking about, this old man?"
Right.
I was literally playing a video game. Do you remember the one called Dreamcast?
I do.
I was playing Dreamcast when I got the phone call.
And how did that phone call go?
It was Jerry Jones. It was Jerry Jones on the phone. So as you can imagine, it went about like you saw movies. He was like, "Hey, Tony Dixon, is Jerry Jones of Dallas Cowboys. How you doing?" And he was like, "Hey man, we're about to take you for the next pick. What you think about that? You ready to be a Cowboy?" And I was like, "Yes, sir."
Right. And please tell me you turned the TV back on.
I turned it back on at that point. And
no more Dreamcast.
Yeah. I was like, forget this Dreamcast.
It's ironic though that you were playing Dreamcast. Dream is in there and your dreams were coming true. Right.
That's right. That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Tell me about playing with Dallas. What was your favorite moment on the field? And then we'll get to everything you're doing now.
You know what my favorite moment on the field was? I came in at a time where I still got to play with legends. So, still play with Emmitt Smith, the Darren Woodsons, who we hope get in to Hall of Fame this year. He's so deserving. He should have already been in the Hall of Fame. But to play with the great Larry Allen, Mark Stepnowski, all these people that was from the 90s and the great Cowboys teams, to be there and watch and witness Emmitt Smith, break the all-time rushing record in terms of yards. I saw that. What most people don't remember and realize is that in that same game, Darren Woodson actually broke the all-time tackling record for the Cowboys in that same game. So talk about a history-filled years.
Historical moment. Yeah.
Exactly. So I got a chance to see these guys operate. A lot of the guys you see even now on the big screen, from Joey Galloway, etc., played with them. And then I got a chance to play under the great Bill Parcells. So,
yeah,
pretty good. We went to the playoffs one year in 2003, lost to Carolina. So I did get a chance to at least break the playoff slump. But what an amazing organization to play for. What an amazing group of teammates. And I think if there was a trivia associated with the years I played, and this could be another conversation, we went through 10 quarterbacks.
Wow. That's definitely
I came in the first year after Troy.
Okay.
So if you do the math on that, you had the likes of Quincy Carter, Tony Banks, Antonio Wright, Chad Hutchinson, Drew Henson. You got Vinny Testaverde that was in there. It's so many, like 10 quarterbacks that I had during that time. So imagine that, and then selling on Tony Romo, and then eventually getting to that.
Well, we have to talk. So we'll talk the next time you come on. We'll talk all about that because I want to hear more. But now I want to hear about what you're currently doing. Obviously retired. You have a new book, Beyond the Glass: A Life of Purpose and Impact. And what inspired you to write a book?
You know what? This is one of those books where this was me sitting back and realizing that I had a story to tell. No different than me telling you that I went out for football for a sense of identity. So I've always dealt with a little imposter syndrome, dimming my light. I actually went through a little depression and suicidal moments after my stint in the football. So my thoughts were in this, like, I have to tell this story and actually share with people to let them understand, like, what were the defining moments in my life that led to me being this way. So in the book, I actually go through 6 defining moments where I had to go and do the necessary work to understand at what point in my young life, or in some cases young adult life, that made me have these thoughts and to limit my own potential without anybody else getting in the way. So there's 3 A's. I call them the 3 A's, and it's awareness, acceptance, and alignment. And one of the lines I say in my book, Deb, is for 40 years, I was aware of who I was, but I had not accepted it. And so what I try to encourage people to do is have a reflective look at their own lives to understand what is holding you back. Like, what are the blind spots that you don't want to deal with? What are the things that you know you want to achieve, but you're telling yourself you're not good enough to do? I had to go back and face those fears. And so for a full year from 2023 to late in 2024, I went on what I call a life spree. And in my life spree, Deb, I went and attacked every fear that I'd had before. So if it was the fear of failure, I went and did something that I knew I had a strong chance of failure. If it was fear of showing up or in a crowd or feeling a sense of belonging, I showed up in that space. And in this book, I take you through that scenario and show you practical steps of how you too can be aware of who you are, more aware, accept who you are, and do the work to change that, and then be aligned with who you're purposed to be.
Yeah, and I love this because it sounds like it's written from a real place, and it's about growth and alignment, and to be the person that you're really supposed to be. I can't wait to read it to myself, to be honest, because sometimes I do the same thing. I think we all do, that kind of that imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? But I think a lot of people do it, and it's common, and it's not really talked about. So I love that you're, we're opening the pages here and we're having a discussion about it. There was a quote that in the book, it says, "Keep walking. Purpose always meets you on the other side of courage." And that's what you say. Can you explain that a little bit to me?
Yeah, purpose always meets you. And there's a lot of times where fear of crossing the line, or even something as simple as opening that door because you don't know what's on the other side, keeps you from opening that door. And what I've learned in life, it's scary.
Right? It's scary.
It's scary. But the greatest growth you'll ever have is by opening that door and going to the next step. We are not meant to stay stagnant. We're not meant to stay the same. We're meant to evolve. And there's, just like chapters in a book, there's different chapters in life. At some point, you have to close out that chapter to go to the next chapter. And guess what, Deb? All the steps and the experiences that you had leading up to that next chapter do not go away. That's the strength that you need to be able to handle the next chapter. And that's where that line comes from, is because that's where you meet purpose. You'll never meet purpose just by looking through the window and not taking those steps toward it. You have to take the steps toward it and know that your experiences has prepared you to adapt the way you need to do in the next chapter.
Great. And we have 2 more minutes left, but also want to talk a little bit about your podcast, Tony Dixon and Friends, and also your foundation. Let's talk a little bit about that. Tell me about your podcast and the foundation.
Yes. So the podcast does just that. It's me and 2 gentlemen sitting down talking about life experiences. We're now fathers. We're former athletes. All of us had different levels. One didn't make it through college. Another one got cut in San Diego training camp. Then I made it. We're all corporate guys. We're all these scenarios, and we're now in our 40s. And now we can talk about the mistakes that we know we made. And a lot of that goes back to the lack of vulnerability, the lack of being open to help, the lack of being open to support, And we talk about life experiences that we've experienced through that. And I'll tell you, it ties in well because the theme is breaking mental glass ceilings. It ties in well to my foundation because my foundation is all based on youth development, developing their mental health, talking about these life experiences, exposing them to a different way of thinking. We don't force it, we expose it. Because what I do know and what I learned from growing up in Reform, Alabama, less than 1,000 people, is that for me to dare to dream, which is another theme of my my life, for me to dare to dream, I had to have been exposed to it to even think it possible.
Absolutely.
So I truly believe. Was that
as you were playing Dreamcast? Keep going.
As
back.
I was playing Dreamcast, yes. I never tied that together. I don't remember that you said that, Deb. I never tied that together before. But that's what my life is about, and that's where when I say a life of purpose and impact in that book, that's what I mean. Because I was doing these things a long time ago, but I wasn't aware nor accepting of it, and now I'm accepting and I'm aligned with what my purpose is.
Awesome. Well, everyone can be aligned with their purpose. You guys have got to pick up the book. Where can we find it? Where can we listen to the podcast? And where can they donate to the foundation for our audience?
Absolutely. TonyDixon.com. If you go to TonyDixon.com, it has links to everything. You can get to the podcast, you can get to the foundation, and you can get to the book. So everything you need is on TonyDixon.com. You can still go to Amazon. It's on YouTube. All of the mass podcast stations as well, platforms. So go find me, TonyDixon.com.
All right, Tony, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for coming on the Blonde Blitz, and you have to come back later.
Absolutely. This has been fun.
This has been so much fun. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
All right, Deb.
Bye-bye. All right, guys, next we've got sports comedian Todd Marcel Durham. He gives us his funny take on playoffs. Todd, what's going on?
Okay, I got one for you. What did the wide receiver say to the football? Catch you later. Yeah, my jokes suck. That's why I watch the Blonde Blitz.
Todd, hello. Oh, you're muted.
What?
Oh, there we go. We got him.
Off to a great start.
There we are.
For the wild card weekend.
There we go.
Isn't that a blast?
Yeah.
Look, I just got excited watching that interview with Tony Dixon because I realized that he and I have really three big, huge things in common. Number one, I used to also play Dreamcast. Number two, I also was not recruited by Florida schools. And number three, I also was not drafted in the first round. So it's like we were the same person. Even.
Same person. Tony, you could have been Todd, you could have been the NFL.
I know. The only difference is that I didn't have a Dallas Cowboy helmet behind me or an Alabama one, but I do have a Pop Warner helmet right here. So it's like we're just really, you know what I mean? We're just
You're the same person.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you.
We have twins in the Blonde Blitz.
I know. You asked Tony a very important question, and you asked him, why football? Why do you love football? Mm-hmm. And he had a separate answer for mine. That's the only difference that I can think of. My answer to that question would be, I played football because I like to headbutt other men and it'd be a celebrated thing. You know, like that is something that I feel like we should really bring back. And I feel like it's the reason why the Patriots are so successful this year, because finally they have a head coach who's willing to openly headbutt his own players.
And he does it a lot.
He does it a lot. He bleeds for the team. This is not.
He literally did.
This is not like hard to figure out why they're so successful. You get a guy willing to go forehead to forehead with a player who's wearing a helmet, you're going to win. I feel like Mike Vrabel's success with headbutting and his team, it could translate to society. Like if you walked through Walmart in Foxborough and headbutted like 10 random people, it would have the same effect as when pastors go through like a big event and they put hands on people and just like change their life. He could just headbutt his way to success to people. And I feel like maybe Tony Dixon could hire him for that in one of his motivational events.
I feel like there might be some concussion stuff going on there. But
the way I believe that, look, the thing about concussions, if you don't believe in them, then they don't exist. So that's how we work with that. Listen, what do you think about the head coaches this year? Like, who's going to win the head coach of the year?
I have no idea.
I don't think anyone does. I don't think there's any way to figure out who's going to win, but I have a thought, and I'd like to share with you. If we're around the same age, we grew up watching American Gladiators, and that was just an awesome show because it was just buff dudes.
Every week.
Who didn't want to be? Who didn't want to be an American Gladiator, be a contestant on the American Gladiator? I think, and look, the Pro Bowl games, it's like guys playing flag football and playing like hopscotch. Nobody wants to watch the Pro Bowl games as they are right now. So let's revamp the Pro Bowl games, have it just be American Gladiators for 3 teams: the Jaguars, the Niners, and the and the Patriots. Why? Yeah. Why just those 3 teams? Because the winner of this brawl, dog eat dog American Gladiators, the winning team with the most points, their head coach wins head coach of the year.
Okay.
I don't think that. I want to see guys jousting. I want to see a dude with a tennis ball cannon just pegging his teammates or the opponents in the face. We need to have more intensity, more toxic masculinity in football, and we can do it through the American Gladiator, and the head coach wins, and everybody would win after that. That's what I think.
Fun. How about players carrying players down the field?
Oh, don't love that. I don't know what sport I'm watching these days. I don't see how. Let's see. If that's how we're playing football now, why don't we start drafting teenagers in the NFL who used to be really good tumblers or like gymnasts, or we just pick up like a guy who was on a movie set recently with like Jackie Chan, because then you could just hand them the ball and get like 3 linemen and then throw them into the end zone, because that's essentially what happened on Josh Allen's touchdown. They called it a touchdown on the field, and his teammates bear hugged him from the back, lifted him up like I want Tony Dixon to do to me one day and just carry me into a better place in life, and then into the end zone. And they still called it a touchdown on the field. And then like the Jacksonville Jaguars have to be like Duval. Like we were supposed to do Duval at the end of this, but we got robbed of the Duval. And I don't.
And people get upset about the tush push.
And they get upset about the tush. And his feet were dangling like how when I was like a toddler, and sometimes right now if I go to my friend's house and I have the bar stools at their house and my feet are doing this, that's what Josh Allen's feet. A grown adult, the most recent MVP. On a human being football field. This is not what George Halas, Curly Lambeau, or Vince Lombardi envisioned when they invented football with Red Grange or whoever else. Lastly, I think first downs are banned for the next 3 games of the next season for DK Metcalf, for AJ Brown, and for the guy with the Panthers. Because if you drop passes that egregiously in the wild card round, you don't get the flick boogers or do like a breast strokes after a first. You don't get to do any of that stuff if you're dropping passes like that. That's my take.
No, AJ Brown definitely should not have been dropping those passes at all. He dropped 3 or 4 of them. Yeah, you
got to cancel Geico. At some point, you got to cancel Geico as a formal protest.
I don't even want to talk about it. All right, Todd, thank you so much for being here. Where can our audience find you?
At Todd Marcel Durham on everything. And God bless and rest ye merry gentlemen.
We'll see you soon. Thanks,
bye.
Todd. All right, guys, next up, we've got HGTV designer to the athletes. She's going to tell us how to get your home playoff ready. And she's also going to give us a few tips for fans heading to Santa Clara for Super Bowl 60. Everybody, please help me welcome Shay Holland.
When I need the latest in style and entertainment, I tune into the Blonde Blitz.
Hi, Shay.
Hey, Deb, how are you?
I'm so well. We have got your audio this week.
I know. I don't have my pink jacket on, though. So,
well.
Not this week.
So I'm sure you are as excited as I am that playoffs are here. Wildcard weekend was wild, right? We're now down to 8 teams in the divisionals. You're a little lagged, but what are some tips to get your home ready for the upcoming huge playoff games?
Okay, I'm back. My signal went out, but now I'm back.
Got ya. Did you hear that question?
No, I didn't hear the question.
That's good. I said, what are some tips to get your home ready for the upcoming games, for the playoff games?
Oh my gosh, these are such exciting games. I think, you really don't need to do much. But the main thing I would say is just think about the NFL experience. They are geniuses at creating an experience. We have the fan experience at Super Bowl coming up, and they just really focus on what it is besides just the viewership of the game. So that's what you want to think about. That comes in like your decor. Do you want to do team colors? Do you want to do a theme? Do you want to do Bad Bunny dress up?
Right.
Which would be crazy. So those are some of the ways to begin to think about getting ready for this Super Bowl, which I think no matter who gets in it, it's going to be phenomenal this year.
And some lucky fans, they'll be going to Super Bowl 60. Do you have any? I know you lived in San Francisco for a really long time. Any tips that you have for them, going into San Francisco for the game?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And you and I are going up, obviously. And I would say there's just, if you're going to fly into San Francisco, SFO, just watch for delays. So make sure you leave yourself. Don't have something that evening if you're flying in that morning, because San Francisco is notorious for the fog. It's worse than Oakland or San Jose. And so that would be the number one thing, is if I really need to get somewhere, I fly into San Jose or Oakland rather than SFO. And then I would say also, I was talking to somebody today who didn't realize that San Francisco is only 7 miles by 7 miles, which is where the name 49ers comes from. So you can leave plenty of time to tour. Make sure you leave. Oh, you didn't know that either?
I didn't know that either.
Okay, a lot of people don't know that.
Nope.
Yeah, so the whole city, this is what's bizarre. The entire city is 7 miles by 7 miles. You can literally walk from one side of the city to the other. So it is the smallest city you will ever be in. And that's the name, the 49ers, the Niners. That's where it comes from. And so it's so easy to be able to see anything from like down at Fisherman's Wharf, and then you can go over to Marina or up to Marin, because you're in such a small space. And so that's what I would say. And also, one of the things I loved most about San Francisco was the hole-in-the-wall restaurants. That's where you have to talk to locals, get some recommendations, find some hole in the wall, and you will find the best food at these hole in the walls. And then I would say, finally, make sure it's also a great architecture town. So if you love design and architecture, which is my baby, just walk around and you see the painted ladies of Victoria. Go over to Cow Hollow and just see these incredible mansions where like Robin Williams used to live when he was still alive. And so there's just a lot to see and do. And then final tip, San Francisco is quite a distance from the stadium. Going to take you a couple of hours if you stay in downtown. Most people are staying in downtown San Francisco. You're going to want to leave yourself so much time to get to the stadium. So that would be my top tips for Super Bowl.
I'm staying downtown.
I would say leave at least. Yeah. So you're going to want a minimum of 2 hours. There's only one freeway from downtown to the stadium. So you can imagine all of that traffic heading down to Super Bowl. It's like LA. It's going to be like LA trying to get to a Dodgers game on a Tuesday night. So yeah, that is one. There's a couple of drawbacks. Oh, finally, mentioning your car, Deb. One thing I would also say, leave nothing in your car. I don't care. I'm talking a T-shirt. I'm talking an empty eyeglass case. I am talking your lunch. These are all things my car has been broken into to get. Yes. They're notorious for break-ins in San Francisco. So don't leave anything in your car.
Thank you so much. And the Blonde Blitz is super excited to be in Super Bowl. We have media credentials. Shay will be there with me. And we're hoping to get some other people also. And we'll be doing some live streaming as well. So everyone, keep your eye out for that. More announcements to be coming on socials as well. So Shay, where can our audience find you?
I'm at Game Day with Shay, coming up with a new podcast pretty soon.
And we cannot wait to hear we heard a little bit about it before, but we'll talk a little bit more about it later, and also at Super Bowl. So I'm so excited for you. So
thanks, awesome. Deb.
We'll see you soon. All right, guys, let's get into the playoff games. Please welcome third-generation sports betting expert Alex White to give you your best bet for Divisional weekend.
It's time to get some NFL betting advice from Alex White and the Blonde Blitz. Win big so I can rob you later.
Just 7 games left in the NFL. Enjoy every second of it. Crazy wildcard weekend. Very entertaining. I'm sorry my best bet didn't get there with the Packers. They should have won that game. But let's move forward. Divisional round, we've got 4 really good games on the board. I'm going to the AFC side though, because 2 teams that really impressed me, the Patriots and the Texans. Both teams won and covered. And I think that has a lot to do with their defenses. We know about the Texans. They've been a top unit all year long. They're number 1 in points allowed. They're second in first half points allowed. They're top 5 in total yards allowed. And they showed up big on that Monday night against the Steelers. On the other side, New England really impressed me against the Chargers. Didn't know if they'd be able to get to Justin Herbert, but they blitzed about half the snaps and they made it hell for their offense. So I think they're going to be able to do the same thing. If there is a weakness on the Houston Texans, it's their offensive line. On the other side, it's been talked about a lot, but the Patriots played one of the easiest schedules in the regular season, and their offense struggled against an above-average defense in the Chargers. Well, now the Houston Texans are even above that. They are elite. So I think their offense is going to struggle a little bit. Ultimately, I do think they get the win. I think they find a way to put a few more points on the board, but under 41, that is the best bet of the weekend. Have a great weekend. Deb, I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Everybody else, enjoy the games, and I'll check in again next week.
Thank you so much, Alex. All right, guys. And of course, we can't talk sports betting without talking fantasy, right? Here is fantasy expert Ballers Meg with her daily fantasy advice for divisionals.
When I'm looking for fantasy advice, I listen to Meg from TSS Fantasy.
Do we have Meg?
Hi guys, Ballers Meg coming at you with the fantasy football section of the Blonde Blitz podcast ahead of our divisional games this weekend. I did not so bad last week in fantasy. I hope that if your team is still in the playoffs that they do well this weekend, and if not, then your fantasy squad is on fire. So let's give you some advice to make sure that that happens, shall we? I am saying if you are looking for a QB, pick up Drake May this weekend. The boy is insane. He has been my MVP for a while now. I absolutely think that he is a safe bet this weekend. Next up, on the other side of that game, I'm looking at Woody Marks. Now, Nico Collins is questionable. He's concussed last week, potentially not playing this week, which means that Woody Marks is going to get more targets this weekend. So I would be picking up Woody Marks if you can. He's also had some great numbers over the last few games, so I would 100% say that he's a safe bet. My final pick this week is probably the most obvious one, and that is Jackson Smith-Njigba over at Seattle. He is a machine. Of all the people left in the playoffs, he is the one that is going to get you the most numbers 100% of the time. Good luck. I hope your fantasy squad does well for you this weekend. You can catch us over on That Sports Podcast Network with TSS Fantasy on Saturday ahead of all the games, and you can follow me for more hints, tips, tricks and advice on all things fantasy football over at ballers_meg on all the social media platforms. I will see you next week for our divisional game, for our championship games. So excited.
All right, thanks so much, Meg. Next, Intuitive Reader 333S, Carrie is using her Power Deck cards to predict the Patriots versus the Texans divisional game. This should be a really good game. Carrie, what do you have for us?
Let's see what the Power Deck cards say about these NFL team futures.
333 Ask Carrie here, ready to give you game day predictions for the Houston Texans versus New England Patriots game, and I will be using my Power Deck. This, guys, is a no rivalry, no history statement game, and it is all about the Houston Texans fighting for the opportunity to be in the Super Bowl for the first time in franchise history. So can CJ Stroud take it all the way, being an air sign? Or can Drake May, the Virgo, go into this head-to-head, toe-to-toe against a team who has a powerful defense and work his way through it? So this is all going to be about two astrological transits that are popping up, and one is about a stellium. And a stellium is a group of planets more than 3 that are in one particular zodiac sign. And the stellium that's occurring on game day is the stellium in Capricorn. And Capricorn's all about grounded earth energy. It's about strategy. It's about being direct and so brutally honest. Would not want to be in one of those huddles. And they're going to really push it through. And for the last transit, we have Venus in Aquarius. It's moving out of Capricorn, which is normally like a very responsible type of energy. But now moving into Aquarius, it's kind of like, okay, let's be creative outside the box and very goofy with our strategy and plays. So there might be a few fumbles in this game, for instance. There might be a few turnovers. So maybe an interception or two. Fun, exciting game, and fairly close, but let's roll into the power deck. So we have, for the Texans, I'm going to start with them first. They're coming off, again, a great game streak against the Steelers. So they have the 10 of clubs, which also represents the 10 of pentacles, which means abundance. They're definitely in their money game flow. But it looks like in the middle of the game, they might be having a little bit of a stall with the 4 of spades. But then the final outcome is a King of Diamonds, which is the best career-making kind of a card for a male by chance. And let's see here. For the New England Patriots, I have the King of Pentacles, which is Drake May's card. He's a Virgo, which is an earth sign, King of Clubs. And then we have the Ace of Spades, which means that like halfway through the game at halftime, they are definitely like looking like the victor in all of this. But then at the very end, they get the 5 of Hearts. So my numbers end game prediction is that it will be Texans 31 versus the New England Patriots 27. 31-27, guys. So hope everyone's having a wonderful week, and back to you, Deb.
That's an interesting prediction, Carrie. We'll see if that happens. All right, guys. Ben Troop has the night off, unfortunately, but Commissioner Cooper from TSS Fantasy is here to take his place. We're excited to have him. Let's bring on those divisional picks.
Bring in Deb and Troop so we can get our NFL picks.
Commissioner.
Hello, Deb. How are we today?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. The internet's a little laggy. My apologies, but doing well. I just want to make one quick comment because you've already talked about last week. But you were right. It was definitely the Eagles offensive coordinator. Even Tom Brady, I don't know if you remember this moment, but it was early in the first or second quarter. He was talking about the Niners defense and how they were set up basically like in a cover 4 and how all the safeties kept biting down when there was a run play. I saw the Eagles maybe once or twice do play action, which made no sense. Yep. That they were begging the Eagles to do some play action and throw over the top of them. And I don't know what they were doing. Even the last play, they were in this straight cover 4 and they sent 4 people just straight up and made no sense. I don't know if you remember, I'm sure you remember the moment they were having the conversation on the sideline. And I was telling my wife at the time, I was like, Jalen don't like that play. I could see him questioning the play. And now we see the result of why. So anyway, I just want to get that off my chest real quick.
Yeah, the play calling has not been ideal all season. I'm glad to see the offense is going to do some changeover as far as the coaches. Obviously, Kevin Petrullo just got fired. And then also apparently Nick Sirianni is not going to have too much to do with the offense moving forward either. So time will tell. Next season is a new season, and we will be covering it then for sure. All right, let's go on to these divisional games. In the AFC, we've got the Bills versus the Broncos Saturday at 4:30 p.m. Who do you got and why?
So, if this was last week, I would have probably picked the Broncos without any even issue. But seeing the Bills last week, they definitely came into these playoffs with issues. Moreover, the defensive line wasn't real impressed with them. But it's the playoffs, and Josh Allen is Josh Allen. period. So I'm going to ride with the Bills, even though, the Broncos D is legit, and they're definitely hurting at receiver, but Josh Allen's always hurting at receiver. They got Brandon Cooks making plays for them right now, because he's that good. So I'm going to go with the Bills. The experience in the playoffs, I think, reigns true this week. So that's going to be my pick this week.
This is so hard for me to pick because, like I said earlier, when Tony was on, I always pick the Bills going all the way. I have them winning everything, and they always let me down. And it's like, am I going to do this again? I actually just might. I agree with you. The Bills didn't really impress me during the season all that much. Last week's game changed that. Although the Broncos have been playing great, and it would be great to have the Broncos, in the Super Bowl in general. I did pick the Broncos, on my brackets to be in the Super Bowl. But Josh Allen is looking fantastic, and Josh Allen is, I think, going to be Josh Allen and come back from just about anything. And the Bills are also 1.5 point favorites in this game. Definitely want to see the Broncos win. I don't think they're going to. I think the Bills have this one.
And you see it a lot in basketball, and I mean it's in football too. But certain teams, I know as a Miami Heat fan, because I would experience it a lot. They wait till that time of the year and then they turn it on. And I just think the Bills, with no Pat Mahomes, no Lamar, and Josh Allen's way, I think this is their time for sure.
Yep. And everybody's saying it. All right, let's move on to the NFC. 49ers versus the Seahawks, the number 1 seed in the NFC. Saturday, 8 p.m. Who you got and why?
So this, if the Seahawks D wasn't so good, I would have probably went easy 49ers here. But that defense plus the 12th man, Sam Darnold to me is a little scary, quite frankly. But with that defense, and he has a decent running game, and he's got JSN. So you can't mess it up that much, quite frankly. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks getting to the NFC Championship. Niners are impressive, though. Don't get me wrong. All the injuries that team has had, it's amazing. You asked earlier someone brought up coaches earlier, and quite frank, I think it was Todd. Sorry, he brought up who could be coach of the year. Yeah. I think it's actually pretty easy, and I think it's Kyle Shanahan for all the injuries that team.
I was about to say that when he moved on, but I agree.
All the injuries that team has been through this year, and for them to be where they're currently at right now, to me, I think a man is an amazing coach. Look at the plays that the Jawan Jennings pass, what a crucial play that was. If that misses, of course you're like, oh, that was dumb, but it was perfect, and it was a perfect time to call it. So like the Niners a lot, but I just think it's a little too much to go into Seattle with the 12th man and the way that defense has played all season.
I agree with you. I think this is the last game for the 49ers. They have had an amazing season. And Shanahan and CMC, Fred Warner, and the injuries that had happened, and they're just so resilient. But I think, unfortunately, this is where it all comes to an end. Just real quick, some stats. I have the Seahawks lead the 49ers all time with a record of 32 wins to 24 wins across 56 times they have met in the regular and postseason. It's a rivalry, right? Like Seahawks, 49ers, hear about it all the time. It became prominent in 2002 when the Seahawks moved from the AFC West to the NFC West, ensuring they would play the 49ers twice every season. They're now playing them 3 times, but because we're in the playoffs. But yeah, I just think the Seahawks are just a little bit of a more balanced team. But I've also heard Sam Darnold chokes in the playoffs. Does he really? Has he been in that many playoffs that he's like choking? I think it was just last year. That was his first.
It's not just the playoffs, but it's also, it seems to be in big games. Like they've been in big moments. Like he makes those crucial mistakes at the wrong time. But again, when you got the running game that they have, they got Ken Walker and they got Charbonnet. So they have a way to kind of offset that, I believe. And when you got JSN, just throw it in the area and you're good. So
absolutely. And the Seahawks are also favored by 7.5. That's a lot, especially against the 49ers. I'm going to go Seahawks. All right, let's move on to AFC Texans versus Patriots Sunday at 3 p.m. Who you got and why?
All right, so I will just go ahead. I mean, you can see I got the Miami Dolphins gear on, and at the end of the day, even as an NFL fan, I'm done looking at these dang Patriots. I'm tired of looking at them. And so when I say all that to say, I am gonna pick the Houston Texans, but it's not because of the hate. It's because of the defense. And quite frankly, Alex said it perfectly. I said it earlier this week. That the Patriots, their schedule this season, they didn't play a lot of good defensive teams.
Yeah.
And she brought it up. Look what the Chargers did last week, and they're a good defense, but they're not that Texans D. That Texans D is nasty. And I always look at things like, if a player played exceptionally well one week, he never comes back and does it again normally. CJ Stroud had one of the worst games. He just had the fumbles and the snaps and all this. He's not going to do that this week. So I think, not that I believe a lot in the Texans offense, but I think it'll be enough with their defense to take this game. So I'm going to go Houston on this one.
All right. Who would have thought? The Texans just didn't play well in the beginning of the season and then just got hot at the end and, towards the middle and the end. And then all of a sudden now they're in the playoffs. But the Patriots are undefeated against the Texans in the playoffs. They have won both previous matchups in the divisional round in 2012 and 2016. I think the Patriots are going to take it. Personally, I just think they're hot. What was their record? 15 and something?
Yeah, they're the best as far as all the teams in I say the Rams are kind of close too, but they're to me, they're one of the more complete teams in the NFL. There's, kind of like in the Bills sense where they don't have that key marquee receiver. They do have Diggs, but he's a little bit, I think, past his glory days. But there's
this season though. I remember screaming his name a lot. So
yeah, no, for sure. But I say that to say Drake, because of that, Drake May has definitely proven to be one of the elite QBs in this league. And they play good defense. They have a good running game. So they pretty much have it all. Like I said, I just feel like though, this Texans defense, it reminds me a lot of when the Ravens went to the Super Bowl with Trent Dilfer at QB. I mean, they are that good in my estimation. So like I said, that's where I'm going to go with them. I have no doubt this is going to be an exciting game to watch though, especially if you like defensive football.
Yeah. I think Drake May with the MVP talks got in a huge fight. Not a huge fight. We got in a little bit of a discussion yesterday with one of my colleagues about Matthew Stafford or Drake May for MVP. But I'm going to go Patriots. They're also 2.5 favored. And I think it's going to be a great game. All right, moving on to the last one. NFC Rams versus Bears Sunday at 6:30 p.m. I'm excited. This is the last game. It's at night. What do you think and why?
So the funny thing is, last week we're watching the, Packers and Bears at home, and my boys from TSS Fantasy were in a little group chat, and, they're going on and on about, the Bears and they're, this and that. And I brought this up only because when I was on backstage doing your show and you were talking about, there was some discussion about Caleb Williams. So I started looking up facts about him. And I found out as I was doing that Caleb Williams has the most fourth quarter comebacks this year. So I texted that at halftime and said, don't forget, comeback Caleb. This is tough. And I'm gonna ride with the Bears because they're at home in a cold environment. I mean, if this was in LA, I wouldn't give the Bears a shot, and you know what? But I feel like because of the elements and the outside, not to say Matt Stafford can't play in those elements, but even in his career, Detroit, they're in a dome. He's in a dome in LA. Mm-hmm. So he's used to being comfy in those controlled environments. I feel like that may be the X factor in this game. Odd to say, the teams are I would say the Rams are a better team, but I think that home field advantage will play a factor into this. And real quick, yes, Matt Stafford definitely deserves MVP, but not to open that debate up with you. But as I just alluded to, Drake May don't have Puka and he don't have Devontae Adams, and he did what he did this year.
True.
So that's the only thing I'll say to that.
That her and I had yesterday. she pointed that out to me, and I was like, "Oh, you're right. You are absolutely correct." I am concerned about this game for the same reasons you just said. It is going to be cold. Matthew Stafford and the rest of the team is not used to playing in the cold. I was at the Snow Bowl last year, Eagles, Rams. Rams almost had it. If it didn't start snowing, I feel like the Rams would have had that game, but there was the snow and the ice, and it was it coming down. I'm hoping this is not going to turn into the 1986 NFC Championship, the Monsters of the Midway, where the Bears completely shut out the Rams 24-0, which Soldier Field. But no, I think it's a big thing that the Bears do have home field advantage. So the Rams' last win in Chicago was in 2003.
Ooh.
And they've lost multiple times since then, often with low offensive output, which does not sound normal for Puka or for Devontae Adams, although Puka was having some moments, this last game, and you could tell how frustrated he was. McVay came over and had to talk to him. I could tell just by knowing Puka that he was upset. But even so, the Rams are 3.5 favorites in this game. I do think they're the more balanced team. They have more experience in the playoffs. I'm going to go Rams just because I absolutely have to. I just cannot pick the Bears in this situation. So
no, you would, like I said, the Rams are a better team. Get them out of the elements, even played out of Miami, you know what I mean? In an open stadium, the Rams would probably win it pretty easily in my estimation, but that element factor is a big deal. And they are calling for isolated snow. So we'll see.
We will see. All right, Commissioner Cooper, where can our audience find you?
Follow us right here on That Sports Podcast Network, TSS Fantasy. You can wake up with us on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. We give you good betting advice. We'll give you the weather report. We got Brian come on with injuries. If I don't know if there's a bunch going into the playoffs, but we also do a little fun stuff with our picks, and we have a couple fun segments. Fantasy Jesus comes on, and we have a Saturday morning cartoon we even play as well. So come check us out on TSS Fantasy.
All right. Thank you so much for being here and filling in for Ben. All right, guys. Today's show is sponsored by Wish LBI and Underdog Fantasy. Go to Underdog Fantasy and use promo code BLONDE, and we'll double your deposit up to $100. If you like today's show, please subscribe, and you can also follow us on all socials at The Blonde Blitz. All right, guys. Football forever. See you next week, and go Rams.